Hey guys, this is JJ Racaza. A while back, we had invited you guys to post some videos of you for me to analyze. So I have a couple of videos here that I've chosen that I saw, and a couple of them are field courses, some of them is just a drill. So we're gonna go ahead and analyze these videos. The first video is coming from Joshua Hilario. So Joshua Hilario, this is your video shooting a field course, right? I'm gonna watch it in its entirety without anything first. Just kind of observe. All right, so my first initial reaction to this one is right off the bat, right as soon as he gets to the first position right here, as he gets to that first position, right here, in this position right here, that gun should be pointed at the target looking through the wall. However, he decided not to punch out until his left foot right here lands, and then that's when he decides to point at the target. By doing that, what essentially happens is he doesn't start seeing his sights until right now. And from there, it takes him a few seconds to settle because it's a hard shot. And then now he finally breaks the shot. Wherein if he decides to get the gun up right here on that right foot, that stomp foot, which is what I call the three-step entry, get the gun up as that foot starts orienting towards the target, then you will be able to capture your sights, which will force you to stay lower because you'll start recognizing all this movement. This final movement of him here standing up is his natural structure that he likes to shoot from. He should learn to stay a little bit lower, getting a little bit wider stance that forces him to stay lower and loaded at the same time. And that, because he stood up right there, what's gonna happen here is I believe it's gonna affect his exit, because he's no longer in a loaded position. Now he's standing up, which is basically a flat-footed position. As he comes into position, he jumps up with this leg to stop himself, and then as he comes and plants on this leg, he comes up and then he starts to essentially stand up and present only when this leg comes up. And that late presentation forces him to stand up because he gets to his natural shooting stance. The problem with that now is that now he's standing up, it's more of an upright position. He's no longer loaded to get out of the position. So now when he leans over here to shoot, he has now to kick this leg off because all the weight's here, I'm standing up, to drop down to get back out of the position. So the fix would that be is instead of here and there, I would use the right foot as to start aiming just behind the wall. It'll force me to stay loaded. So now when I do this, I can just pull out as opposed to dropping my weight, which is costing about half a second. The entry, he lost about 4/10 of a second because it took him a while to get his sights as opposed to getting his sights on target already as he comes up to the position. That will save him some time, as we showed that earlier on the video. And then the exiting now, instead of drop stepping and then getting himself lower to push out, it is now, he's already loaded in that position because he's staying low. For this, now he can just pull himself out as opposed to having to put himself in a lower position, then drop stepping, which causes him some time. So those two right there can cost him probably about a second, or if not over a second, on that first position. All right, so as he exits here, he drop step, which should have been a lead foot pivot. He should have kicked out forward. It should have stayed loaded, but instead, because he stood up here, delaying everything, shooting, his position, and now it's a sense of out of balance. Now he has to kick off from that position to get low and to get explosive. Here's the next position. He gets the gun up. He does a really good job, but the problem with that is he gets the gun up way too soon. He takes, how many steps? Gun up already on the first step right there on the left. Gun up, 2, 3, 4. So four steps before he takes his first shot. So to me, once I bring my gun up, I should be shooting within the second or third step. No more than that. He's at 4 steps, so he's delaying. So that means he got his gun up way too early, which caused for sights to do this, and he knows he still has to cover ground, so he's still moving quite fast to get to the position that he wants to be able to see the entire array over here that opens up on the left side. So again, the same exact thing. If he understands the concept of 3-step entry, instead of what he did 1, 2, 3, 4 to be able to shoot, I would activate the 3-step entry, which means if by the time I get the gun up on that either right foot or left foot, right? That should be my stimulus to slow everything down so I can shoot. So he lost two things. He lost the ability to run fast closer to the position. And number three, he lost the ability to get the shots off sooner because he stopped way too soon and he knows he has to cover ground in order for him to expose the other targets to the left. So instead of 3 or 4 steps for him, I would literally just go 1, 2, 3. By the third or second step, I should be able to shoot. So the 3-step entry is basically post, and break, post leg, and then into another post leg if I go into shoot. And I should be able to shoot within 2 to 3 steps from that position. But he didn't do too bad. He got his gun up, but there's such a thing also as getting the gun up way too early, costing you more time in an unstable sight picture and useless sights on target longer. So I don't want to spend too much time on there. I'd rather spend that time more on a run. That's way too much. He should have only taken 2 steps in order for him to get his platform set. And so he lost the advantages of being able to run further into the corner, into the field. Instead, he's slowing down already there, trying to shoot targets on the move quite aggressively. I wonder what that target looked like. Probably a good shot, but I don't know, right? That's a wild guess. Those seem to be not so hard shots, but lost the opportunity to run closer to the target and really should have been only stopping right here. First, that's when the gun should have been out. Start shooting there, rolling into the next position, setting up for the final target on the left side. And instead of kicking off that left foot right there, as he's transitioning, yep, that's another movement he has to account for. Instead of doing all of that, he should have already been set at this point. And then now he has to get set again. And by doing that, it orients him in a weird way where it puts all the weight on the right foot and he's not balanced. The left foot's not even forward. And here's the problem with this. That foot should have been already stable, but he tends to kick it out again, readjust during the transition, which is okay to readjust during the transition. But once I'm in a set in position, I should always come in to the position like the way he does, 1, 2, 3, as I'm shooting, as opposed to the way he does, 1, 2, shoot, and then make the adjustment again. Those adjustments will cost you time and cost your targets to shake as well. So that's another issue right there. I would fix that. I would just clean up his entry and his exit. As he goes around here, the exit, I'm already guessing, it's gonna have to drop step again. And he does something even worse. He drop step with his left foot, which is a very long way to go before he hits the ground to kick forward. It should have been just a lead foot pivot with that left foot. Right foot should have been loaded since all the weight's already on that foot. That switch stance, in order for him to accelerate, that one cost him probably a good half a second to 3/4 of a second, if not a full second, because it takes so much time to go from here to this, as opposed to from here to this. I'm taking a positive step versus he's taking a negative step to load up, and it's taking him all that time to make sure he's in an athletic stance. Instead, he should just get in there in a low stance and be ready to get out of that position. Takes off running, all this is good. Magazine loading while he's running. Get to that position. I don't think he does anything bad here. Yep, there it is. Oh, hold on a second. That's shifting here. That's what caused him, because he's rushing to shoot the last final targets, and he's shifting around, and he's missing that plate while he's shooting. Yep, he took 2 to 3 shots in order for him to get set on that steal, which is another one of those probably seconds. Just picking up shot, kind of in a rush, but that's okay. But if he fixes his ability to get in position correctly, 1, 2, 3, and set that position, and then learn how to pivot from there, and then same thing again on the left side, learn how to pivot from there as opposed to all this shuffle, that will help him a ton. Clean up a lot of his movement, and he will save probably 3 seconds on this stage alone without even changing the way he's shooting. I don't know what his hits are, but that's just my guess. So that was Joshua Hilario. The next person is going to be Jorge Tiero. Jorge is going to be showing us a drill, a fast drill. 2 to the head, 4 shots to the body. Good time, 3.49. That's really good. I don't think the results were very favorable. Yep. He fired 6 shots and I only see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I think maybe that one on the neck may have 2 on there, but I don't think that's his shot, because looking at the background of the shots on is covering his shots, but I can take a wild guess on where the first shot and the second shot. So to me, it looked like the first shot went a little bit left and then the next shot went a little bit right. So whether the first shot was a hit or the second shot was a hit, there it is. First shot was there, second shot was further to the right. As you can see, the berm exploded a little bit further out there, but it's all good. And then so the next thing I'm gonna look is his recoil management on this 4 targets, 4 shots. In order for him to shoot, he should already set his stance the way he wants it, but he's kind of flat-footed right now, and then immediately as soon as the buzzer goes, he takes a step forward, and then when he takes a step forward, you can see that movement jarred his entire structure up where he should have had that set. Basically, all I'm looking for is this. This is his structure right now, and as he sets, he takes a step forward and it shakes his lower half and shoulder. Structure to me is when I lock my shoulder, my hips and my shoulder together. So if I was in a drill where I don't have to move, I will already lock that in position. So when I draw, nothing else moves but my holster and my gun and my hands. For him, he was standing up like this and he was stepping into the position. So what that does is, one, changes up his draw, probably affected his grip or consistency coming out of the holster. Second, he didn't have it established as he was finally on target, which when you're trying to establish this while you're on target, it'll take a little bit longer to get those sights perfectly. And on a headshot, it's very critical for you to get 2 good hits on it. The second comment on this is the way he shot that. I don't think he prepped the trigger on the second shot at all. I think he was cranking on that trigger, so who knows where, even if the sights were good, I would have him learn how to reset and prep the trigger correctly so the headshot would be good. The body shots right here, yep, the big thing for me, he's moving around his structure. He's trying too hard to get a good time and trying to shoot too fast on that particular drill, which is a nice drill. It's a good challenge drill because it works on accuracy and it works as well as some speed, but that's what happened with a couple of these shots to the right as he starts to do it. And I think one of the missed shots that happened was a shot that went up onto the neck. I don't know if that was quite his first and second shot or that was part of his body shootings. Otherwise, I think this is a pretty simple drill, pretty self-explanatory. He fired 6 shots, only got 4 or 5 recorded hits on there, unless this is 2 shots or 2 hits on there, which I highly doubt. All right, so the next one is just some kid. Just some kid. Some kid, I don't even know. Do we have a real name on some kid? Nothing. So after watching his video without any comments, just kind of observing it, first thing I'm gonna do is probably even, without knowing the stage plan, it seems like he's shooting production. I would have changed his stage plan a little bit without really talking about shooting yet. I'll get to that in a little bit. This is the biggest dead space in time. Right, I probably would have reloaded there since it's a really big transition from right. It almost took him a second and a half to fire that shot. That would have been an opportunity to reload real quick right there, get it in, and then to be able to shoot these 2 next targets outside, and then to be able to just run up to the final position and then actually shoot that target on the way in. That's just a wild guess since I didn't get to shoot this stage, but that seems to be a very pinched place to reload. And now he ended up having to actually just slow his movement so he's not doing a standing reload. Where here, he has 1, 2, 3 steps that he could have done a reload, plus that big transition from right to left. So anyway, his shooting otherwise, it sounds very flat. So that's the comment, first of all. Here, instead of moving 2 feet and each as he's shooting, it's not, it did like 1 really small step backing out with that left leg right there, and then the right foot, and then he does a shimmy. And I'm gonna go over here to show that. Instead of here, and then as he's shooting this, he does 1, 2, and then take a step back and a big step. He could have just done this, boom, boom, take a big step. As he's transitioning here, commit to this leg, since he's already posted up on it, commit to this leg, and all you have to do now is, instead of shifting weight to do this, and then this, that affects your shot and makes it harder, what you can do is, after you're committed to this position right here, after that second to the last shot, all he had to do was start fading with that back leg, and it'll start to pull him. You're just basically dragging your feet back, and so it affects your shot very little, as opposed to shifting your weight, taking this step, and then shifting your weight again, taking this step, affecting your shot on that particular easy target. So instead, after that last shot, I would have just started fading out, boom, boom, and then I would have been able to explode, since all of my weight is on here, loaded. As I get out of this position, 1, 2, I would be able to see the next target. So again, it looks like this. As I'm loaded, 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 fade out, boom, 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 and I'm set, as opposed to what he did, where he did this, and then he shoots and shifts, and then he has to do this, and he has to do a weird backtracking. So making that small adjustment would have been great. When I talked about flat shooting, shooting sounds really flat. It sounds like every target is the same difficulty, distance. There's some partial target out there. There's some open target. There should have been some change up where it's like pop, 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 or pop, pop. As you're shooting on a move, maybe the rhythm would have changed because your sights. He's shooting all of them. It sounds like the same split. Pop, 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 pop. Same exact thing. Pop, 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 pop. Pop, 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 pop. He sped up near the end, pop, 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 pop. But then the whole thing before that was all pop, 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 pop. Every single one of them. So I would have changed that up and explained to him some rhythm. Rhythm would help him understand, and rhythm is really dictated by either your sights on a speed target, attack target, and rhythm is dictated on a control target by how quickly you can return the sights on target and prep the trigger on a control target. So that one would be one right there. So let me move on to the next one. This one is heavy riff. Heavy riff. I think this is California. It looks like it, or Ohio maybe. Maybe this is Ohio. I don't know. California looks dry. First thing, I'm gonna watch the video without saying much to just observe. It's okay. Shifting there. Ooh, I think he's in a bad position there. Yeah. Oh, he did it twice. Bad position again. That's all good. All right, so first thing off, explain to heavy riff, 90-10. This first initial position right here, instead of reloading right away, inserting that mag right off in the first step, trying to get that up, my job would be to run. I would run to about right here, as fast as I could. That's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5 to 6 yards of running, but instead of being able to run, he was trying to reload all that time and even check the mag if it was all the way in, and then pulled and racked it right here. I would have tried to just run first as far as I could, and then only now insert the magazine in, and I'll show that technique here in a little bit, and then get the gun up and running and loaded at the last 10 or 15% of the movement. Again, explaining to Riff, 90-10 would allow for me to be able to take advantage and save some time here. Shooting seems okay, but again, he does what I believe it was, not Jorge, it's Joshua Hilario. He does the same thing. He gets locked into a position and then he has to shift his stance to that final position, to final target. So again, what I'm talking about is this. I have a magazine, I have a gun, starting unloaded. Instead of coming into position and immediately worried about loading and doing all this stuff, I want to, if I have a longer way to run, my goal is to get my gun and magazine up and running first, and run, and then put the magazine and the gun together close at the last bit and do it all together, as opposed to now if I'm inserting, I can't run because I'm trying to put my magazine in the gun, number one, so I can't move my hands fast, so my feet doesn't move fast, so I lose the opportunity to run. So that 5 yards was already lost time for him because he jogged or walked it as opposed to running it. Number two, as he comes to the final position, right, he comes in, he got his gun up and running and loaded. Instead of setting up wide for the final target, boom, 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 he had to essentially lock himself like this, where he closes hips to this final target. So as he's transitioning, he now has to open up for that particular target, which wastes a lot of time. By positioning himself, that transition was easily over a second, right? So that wastes his time a lot. Yep, again, he has to shift over for that last partial target right there on the right side to be able to see that target right there with the black, right? So he has to shift over again. So the one thing I would teach Heavy Riff as well is to learn how to position himself. Only pay attention to the first target and the last target. So instead of only paying attention to the first target and then setting yourself in that position, he's setting himself up for the first and the last. So he only should stabilize himself once and not have to shift around to fire to be able to shoot the next target. So it would look something like this. I would teach him what's called a reverse lean. As he comes to that next position, he would come in there over right here, and he would lean back to the right as if he's shooting right side barricade. So as he turns around, he can expose all targets by just shifting his weight, right? And then seeing all the targets. And then from there, I can now move to the next position because now I'm loaded going to this direction. So all I have to do is take a quick step and it leads me out of that position. Instead, he did this and then he had to shift, which cost time, cost my shots, my sights to shake, and now it really causes a lot more time, a lot more inefficiency in that style of shooting. So he does that there. He shifts over. There's a shift. Man, that's almost a second right there. Yep, a second before he fires a shot. So you can see the time hack, 14 seconds as he fired that last target. Shifts at 15. 16 is when he shot. That's a full second transition where that should have been no more than a 3/10 of a second transition. So that's easily 3/4 of a second. And of course, since he's no longer in a position, he's standing straight up, he has to do what's called a drop steps. He's jumping up to load his legs to exit all at the same time. So that's what causes all of those partial issues right there. Setting up again here, he's trying to set up for the outside target, but the way he shoots this array, he goes inside and out, and then he ends up taking another one of those steps to readjust for the final shot. And right there, oof, right here, that's his last shot. Boom, at 21 seconds. Watch this, as he turns over to the right side, because he shifts, that's his next shot. Almost at 23 seconds. So it's almost a full second where that transition shouldn't have been that hard. Again, if he just overran this position a little bit and reverse leaned to the right, he doesn't have to take this overt step to the left to be able to expose all that target. And that would have put him on a nice platform lean right there. So here's the example of what he did. He comes in a position, he stays flat, there's a wall here, there's a wall here. He shoots this, whatever. Then he takes a step back and shoots that. That took about a second to shoot from here to here, right? And by this time, he can't see that target. But by setting up here, well, all he could have done was get wide, setting up deeper as opposed to setting up shallow for him, then having to take this step to get deep, set up for that position as if you're setting up for the last target, be a little bit uncomfortable for the first target. So now as I wind up, I can use weight shifting instead of steps to get me into the next target. And now when I shift my weight from here to there, all I would have to do now is transition to here and use some sort of lean and forward lean to move into that target instead of what he did where he took a step and then he took another step to take a lean onto the final target. So just extra stuff that we can clean up on that particular technique that he had here. Here's a step, and then here's another step. And there's the lean to shoot that on the move, which is that was actually a good shooting in the move lean, but that whole setup wasted a whole lot of time there. So again, probably a second loss here. Instead of running, this is where I would have inserted the mag, posted up, racked the gun, got the gun up, and then that's the second probably. And then another one of these right here, there's another second transition before he can shoot. So set up there, that's 2 seconds. This is set up a little shallow. He should have been right here for his stage plan and shooting that left target right there from that position right there. So he doesn't have to shift and make one position as two. Instead, he said he made one position into two positions, and that shift cost him some time, cost him to do drop step. That's another second plus over there. I don't like that, looking ahead and leaving the gun way out here, because now I have no idea when I'm reloading. Whenever I'm reloading, I want to bring that gun in front of me so I have an idea where it's at. Here, that could have easily gotten hit with that wood right there. As he leaves it here, that wood and the gun can send his gun breaking 180, so I don't like that technique there as well. So I would ask him to change that as well. Luckily, he didn't hit it, so he didn't break the 180. And again, here again's another second or two lost because he made one position into two, and then he couldn't blend this position into this. He had to shift and shift. And then the final position was just speed shooting. I think he missed maybe a couple of shots. He had to pick up another shot, had an extra transition. So all in there, each and every single one of those positions, areas, he lost about a second. So without even changing his shooting, I think we can save up about 4 seconds on that stage alone. I think that's all we got. Oh no, we got one more. So we have Clint Santos. pretty cool little stage, fast stage. I like that stage. Yep, a lot of this stage is basically movement. There's not much shooting. It's all about fast shooting. On this one, it seems like the targets seem easy, so he could have utilized footwork to get him in more position. What I hear is a lot of broken up shots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, exactly. So there's broken up. In each and every single position he broke up. He wasn't able to take advantage of blending any of these positions together. So basically it's simple. Number one, this right here, his eyes was already onto the position or the target before he even looks down on his gun. When he finally gets his gun rack and running, loaded, he's already in position, which is by then too late. He should have had the gun loaded and racked right here, and then the gun up at this point right here. The gun should be up on that right foot before the left leg gets on position, but he gets in position first, looking at two targets before he even establishes a load and before he even establishes a grip, which is over a second that he just lost right there. So that's okay. He seems like he's moving already on that target, but that target seems easy enough. This should have been a more of a lean, a continuous lean. And he should have continued to step with that left foot over to the right side, a cross step, but instead he picks it up to take a step, but he leaves it in the same spot, and then he does a lead foot pivot. So now he has to do a shuffle right there. And when you do that kind of movement, it's gonna jar your sights a lot, which takes a little bit longer to settle your sights. So instead of doing a jump like that, he could have just cross stepped a little bit. And the reload, he couldn't really do anything about that unless there's a better way to reload this. If I shot this stage, maybe I would have looked for a different reload where there's more time. So simple as this. So the first position, all he had to do was, instead of running to the position and getting the gun up and then step here and then load and then up, I would have done it on the first step. I would have looked at my gun. My eyes would be on my gun. As I get it up, my first step here, and then as soon as I get this up and running and launch myself to that right step, the gun will be up already, so before my left leg, so I can start shooting whatever I need to shoot, right? Once I do all of this stuff here, he does the fade here, which is okay. And as he's loading up this leg, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, he picks this leg up to take a step. Instead of cross-stepping, he decides to pick it up and take another step, which forces him to do a step, and then a lunge, and which shakes your sights onto this position. The cross step, the reason why it's favorable, because it would get me further and I'm not jumping into position. It would allow for me to be able to just flow with the position. Instead of what he did, take a step, instead of launching that foot over there, he stops here to take a drop step and then have to jump into the final position, which jars your sights. All he had to do was he can establish and accomplish the same amount of distance and cover by cross-stepping, and it'll be a lot smoother in position, and then the gun will get into position much better, get on target a lot better, shoot sooner without disturbing your sight picture. So Clint looks like a good shooter. A couple of inefficiencies, I would just adjust his footwork and I would clean that up. Same thing, I would clean up his entry and exit and understand that right here, this jump right here is not a good thing. All he had to do was take that left step, cross it over, and he would have been able to take less steps too. It would have been 1, 2 to get in position, as opposed to what he did here. Right here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's double the steps that I would have taken, which created a choppy flow as opposed to a smooth flow on that particular stage. So yeah, Clint, man, send me a message, or any of you guys that I just did a video, send me a message. If you have any questions, I hope that helps. There's a lot of these little things that I can cover in my classes, but since I saw the videos are so important for me to break down. These are what I do to some of my students here in the US. You guys are fortunate enough to be part of the SG Club, for me to be able to look at some of your videos and break it down for you guys. All on video, all on live. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and hopefully you guys learned a lot. See you guys on the next one.